scares me. He got me last time we played.
You heard it. Bills' Josh Allen is scared of the Jaguars' Josh Allen. Will the real Josh Allen stand up? Welcome in to Teal, the show. I'm Jamal St. Cyr alongside Justin Barney. Justin, this is a big game, and the Jaguars could definitely use their Josh Allen to have a big outing. He's been one of the premier sack artists in the NFL so far. He's tied for the league lead in sacks with 6 sacks already this season. Jaguars need him to have another big week.
Absolutely, and I think the Bills' Josh Allen has been listening to our News for Jags podcast throughout the year because I've been singing the praises of the Jaguars' Josh Allen. It's a contract year for him. He was so close last year on so many plays, one of the top 5 in the league at getting to the quarterback. His problem was finishing, and this year he's not had problem with finishing. I think he's going to continue going this week, and he is on a mission this year. He has looked exceptional. 3 sacks last week, 3 sacks in the opener. Get to Josh Allen, force him out of the pocket, put some pressure on him. That's what you got to do. That's what they did in that 9-6 win a couple years ago when Urban Meyer was in charge. He made Josh Allen uncomfortable, forced him out of the pocket, forced him to throw passes he didn't want to. Do the same thing this week, and Jacksonville can be in that ball game in the fourth quarter.
And Jaguars' Josh Allen had a big game against the other Josh Allen the last time the Jaguars and the Bills played. Now, speaking of a pass rusher, there's one pass rusher that we're keeping a very close eye on this game. When we start talking about the injuries that could change how things go if a guy can play, Bills pass rusher Von Miller is questionable for this game. He's missed a few weeks with an injury. He could be back for the Bills this week. Traveled with the team to London. He even said on his podcast that he thinks he'll play this week. Press Taylor said that they've seen a lot of Von Miller in the NFL, and he is a game wrecker.
He's using bits and pieces. It's probably going to be on critical situations where he gets a chance to rush the passer. But if he's playing every single down, that's something you got to be aware of as well. So he's somebody that will pay the respect he's earned.
If you've seen anything from Von Miller, you know one thing is for sure. He is a talented pass rusher and a guy who can ruin a game plan all on his own. Definitely would move the needle for the Bills if he's able to suit up and play.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the struggles the Jaguars have had on their offensive line. There's been moving pieces. Will Cam Robinson play this week? They've had injuries. They've experimented with moving Tyler Shatley to guard over Ben Barch. So you've got kind of still a work in progress, that offensive line. You don't want to have to contend with one more edge rusher who is a disruptive, a former Super Bowl champion, who can get to the quarterback and alter plays. You hope Von Miller sits this one out.
Now, speaking of offensive line situations, that kind of brings us to the next thing. The Jaguars' offensive line got a bit of reinforcements this week. Cam Robinson back at practice with the team. The coaching staff says they've been pleased with what they've seen from Cam Robinson, but Doug Peterson said he's not just ready to make a decision yet, said they still have Saturday before they decide what they want to do. Now, if they insert Cam Robinson into the lineup, that means he takes over at left tackle where Walker Little's been playing. More than likely, they'd move Walker Little to that left guard spot, leave Luke Fortner in at center, leave Brandon Sheriff at right guard, leave Anton Harrison at right tackle. Now, while that's a slight shakeup in the offensive line, it's something that they hope could make a big difference. Doug Peterson says he wants just one more day before he makes the final decision there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Walker Little's not been a bad left tackle this year. He's top 10 in the metrics where he's ranked. And you add Cam Robinson, who is arguably their best offensive lineman, getting back in the equation. He's probably not going to be in game shape for a couple weeks. But, again, you add that guy to the mix. And, again, that's why I was not too overwhelmingly concerned about Jacksonville's offensive struggles at this point because we've not seen them play with a full deck this season. You get to week 6 and you're still having these problems, then you're willing to ask some questions. But I like the reinforcements on the way. I think we'll start seeing a little bit more of what that offensive line is capable of. We saw it last year. They were, you know, top 20 offensive line, top 22. Can you get back to that point? Maybe even supersede that a little bit. Look for that to happen when Cam Robinson gets in game shape.
Cam Robinson not the only help for that Jaguars offense. Zay Jones looks like he'll be able to play this week. Jamal Agnew also may be back on Sunday for the Jaguars. Both of those guys missed last week's game, so that would be a lift for the Jaguars as they start to try and figure out how they're going to keep track with the Bills. Now, another thing that we're kind of keeping an eye on to see if it's helpful or not is that the Jaguars have been in London. They played last week in London. They spent this entire week across the pond in London. Nobody really knows how this affects the game. Doug Peterson has said that it's kind of wait and see, but he's tried to keep everything the exact same as it would be if they were here in Jacksonville.
One thing about, you know, we're creatures of habit where, you know, we follow a schedule. And I don't like to necessarily deviate from that schedule if I don't have to, and keep a lot of the things the same for the players.
The weather was great today. It's a little cooler than it is in Jax, so it's nice. It's a nice change up. But no, it's great. It's different. Obviously, spending a full week out here and practicing. I haven't done that before, but it's been awesome. It's really beautiful. The guys are enjoying it. We're really focused and locked in.
It'll definitely be interesting. This is kind of an experiment for the NFL. Nobody really knows how this is going to go over. If everything goes right, then that means that the Jaguars have this huge home field advantage because they're adjusted to the area, knew what to expect, and the time change is something behind them. Then we kind of got to worry about how the time change affects them as they come back. But for this week, hopefully it'll give them some sort of advantage.
Absolutely. You know, Jamal's been on the return trip being more challenging for the Jaguars when they come home after 2 weeks in London. How is that going to affect them? They've been on London time. They've had 2 weeks in the UK to kind of balance things out, get on London time. Trevor has said the time change is real. Getting your body acclimated and adjusted to being overseas is a real thing that players have to deal with, and I think they probably felt that more that first week than the second week. But again, home field advantage, I think, is real over in London. You're Buffalo. You've not been in this situation before. You're Jacksonville. You have. It's the 11th game you played in London and back-to-back weeks, so I do think that plays into the advantage a little bit. I am kind of being like Jamal at this point, worried about that return trip home after being in London 2 weeks.
We'll definitely be talking more about that in future episodes of Teal the Show. We've still got plenty more Teal the Show you're coming your way tonight. We're going to check in with Justin, and we'll sit down and really talk about what we can expect out on the field coming up right after the break when Teal the Show returns. Welcome back into Teal the Show. All right, it's time to start to get to the nitty-gritty of this football game. Justin, when we kind of look at these matchups, the Bills' offense has been high-powered this season, so definitely a tough task. The Bills dismantled the Miami Dolphins just a week ago, so their defense isn't far behind. Which side of the ball are you more concerned about, whether the Jaguars hanging with them?
Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and the offense. You put up 48 on Miami, a team that the week before put up 70 points. Yeah. That's a little worrisome. I mean, Stephon Diggs, that touchdown catch after the penalty, run down the sideline where he pirouetted and kept his balance and kept going to the touchdown. I mean, Stephon Diggs is a game changer, one of the top probably 3 receivers in the NFL. How does he match up against that? Josh Allen, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. So I am more concerned about Jacksonville's defense slowing down that Buffalo offense.
Now, the tough task, or the biggest question, is this the week that the Jaguars offense finally wakes up? It feels like the Jaguars offense is kind of this sleeping giant. We all have talked about the talent and the expectations that were there because we saw what they were at the end of last season. Well, they haven't picked up right where they left off. They haven't really built on that. If anything, they've regressed and take steps backwards. But that doesn't mean that the talent's not there. They can still take that big step forward. At some point, I still feel pretty good about saying this Jaguars offense is going to wake up and start putting points on the board. It just hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened. I mean, this is the same team, give or take, and then you add a Calvin Ridley from last year, and we saw what that offense did in the second half of the season. Biggest change is Press Taylor calling plays for a whole game. Another change is that offensive line had been missing really 2 pieces when you talk about Jawan Taylor's exit, Cam Robinson not being there. But again, Cam Robinson didn't play the last month of the season last year with the torn meniscus. So what has been the hang-up, the hold-up in this offense getting going? Will this be the week that it all comes together? I'm going to say no. I still think it's when Cam Robinson gets at full strength, they'll get back to clicking. You know, Zay Jones has not been in that lineup. Jamal Agnew was out last week. So, again, you've not had a full deck at all this year if you're the offense. I think when they have that full deck, with a couple games under its belt, they're going to be back to normal.
All right, couple extra cards in the deck this week at the very least. It's time for us to kind of pick the game. All right, Justin, he's leading our News for Jax picks right now. Lead dog in the house. Justin, do the Jaguars come out victors over the Bills?
No, I think they lose this week. I'm going to say 33-21 Buffalo. I just think it's too much for Jacksonville to curtail that Buffalo offense. I think they're going to have a little bit too much. I don't think we'll see a repeat of that 9-6 game that we saw here and just blew everybody's mind away a couple years ago. Urban Meyer's high water mark as a Jacksonville coach. But I think Buffalo wins on the road in London, 33-21.
All right, I'm actually on the opposite end of this one. I do think the time change gives the Jaguars an advantage in this aspect. Now, the Bills are a really good team, so I'm not necessarily comfortable making this pick, but I do think the Jaguars are going to walk out winners. I think the time change being there has them a little bit more accustomed. They should be full speed, while maybe the Bills are a little bit sluggish as they get used to it. Give me Jaguars 27-20. All right, so not a wide margin there.
Is this a pick meant to catch me in the rankings this early point in the season?
It could either catch him or it could backfire. I'm not sure which one I'm doing, but I also just feel like, again, next week I feel like we're going to disagree because I've already just planted my flag on what I'm going to do next week. So this week, I do think that the time change matters. I do think that being there that extra week helps the Jaguars. So if I win, obviously I will catch Justin, which would be good news. All right, one last question as we wrap the show up. Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. Only one Josh Allen can be good, at least according to my laws for the universe that I've laid out. And the last time we've seen the two on the field together, what Josh Allen stands out on Sunday?
I'm going to say, as much as I love Jaguars Josh Allen on his fifth-year option, I've taken Josh Allen in our
He's been on the fan club.
head-to-head.
Yeah.
I like the Jacksonville Josh Allen, but I'm going to say the Bills Josh Allen this week. He's got room to impress after that 9-6 loss against Jacksonville. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. Time change doesn't affect him. He's a step ahead of the Jaguars Josh Allen. And the Jaguars Josh has been great game. Where's he at? Great game. Where's he at? So kind of, that's been that mark with Jacksonville Josh Allen. But I'm going to say the Bills Josh Allen wins this round.
All right, I'm step with you on this one. I agree. I think it's Bills Josh Allen that stands out better of the two. I think the Bills are going to come in with a plan to slow down Jaguars Josh Allen on Sunday. So that means someone else is going to have to step up for that Jaguars defense. We'll wait and find out who it can be. Again, this is a big game coming up on Sunday morning from London for the Jaguars, and the team comes back to Jacksonville. Justin, thanks for being here. Thank you at home for tuning in. Good night, everybody, and go Jags.